Hey guys, so I got to play Assassin's Creed Shadows for 6 hours at a preview event, and I have so much to share. Don't worry, there won't be any spoilers. I'll just tell you what I thought about the game and how it felt to play. Let's get into it. The first hour of my playthrough was spent playing the prologue, and wow, it was seriously good. Right from the start, I was completely hooked. The pacing of the prologue was fast, but it still slowed down and gave enough time to the moments that needed it. I really liked that. One thing I thought was super cool was how the prologue showed the same event from both Yasuke's and Naoe's perspectives. If I had to pick my favorite thing about the prologue, hands down it's the soundtrack. It was phenomenal, especially during the cutscenes. There's one specific moment where the music was so good I couldn't help but stop and think, man, I can't wait for everyone to experience this. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about when you get there. I also really liked the characters and their voice acting. Even though I've only seen a little bit of Oda Nobunaga so far, I already think he's gonna end up being one of the best characters in the whole series. He's so well written, and his voice acting is just incredible. In every scene he's in, he's fantastic. So yeah, the prologue was awesome, but here's the thing, it's just the intro. If the rest of the story in Shadows is as good as this, we're all in for something really special. The region I got to play in was Harima, and I spent most of my time in a castle town called Himeji. Honestly, I found the Harima region absolutely beautiful. It was spring in the game and everything felt full of life. Flowers were blooming everywhere, the sun was shining in this soft and pleasant way, and the whole place just looked so vibrant. The open world ambiance stood out a lot to me. When the wind blew, I could see leaves flying around, trees swaying, and even branches reacting to it. The flames in braziers flickered with the breeze, and the fire particles moved along with it. Banners swayed too. It rained a few times during my playthrough too, and I've gotta say, the weather effects were so much better than in past games. The rain came with heavy winds, dark clouds covering the sky, water dripping off roofs, and the dirt streets turning muddy. And when the rain stopped, you could see the aftermath, puddles on the streets and raindrops still trickling down from roofs. At night, the castle town looked amazing. The lamps and fire braziers lit up the street, and it gave the whole place this cozy, comforting feel. The wind made the lamps sway, and the way the light moved with them was so cool to see. Honestly, nighttime in this game felt so much more special compared to other games. The places I visited in Harima all looked different. They were beautifully designed, and I really enjoyed checking them out. Combat in the game felt much more tactical this time around. I had to stay focused the entire time if I wanted to avoid getting hit or keep the damage to a minimum. Some enemies have 2 bars above them, one yellow and one white. The white bar is their health, and when it's fully depleted, they're done for. In combat, our attacks deplete the yellow one first, then the white. But with stealth attacks, the white bar, which represents health, gets depleted directly. If the white bar isn't fully depleted and I go into combat, my attacks will start depleting the yellow bar first and then the remaining white. This made combat tougher, especially when I went in without proper tactics, as I had to deal with 2 bars instead of 1. Yasuke's combat, man, it was just so fun. After every fight, I genuinely wanted to jump straight into the next one. It felt that satisfying. It wasn't just the standard block, parry, light, heavy stuff either. It had much more depth. For example, with the long katana, I pulled off this quick, cool follow-up attack just by releasing the block button right after a block. There was even an option to upgrade this move to make it stronger, which was awesome. I also loved how you could swap weapons mid-combo as Yasuke. Ranged combat had a good amount of depth too. Using the Teppo rifle felt incredible, and it was one of the things I had most fun doing during my playthrough. Enemies were smart enough to move out of my aim line when I was targeting them with the Teppo. I also used the new posture attacks a lot, and they were awesome. Posture attacks are these charged moves we perform by holding either the light or heavy attack button. Even though they're new, I got the hang of them pretty quickly. They just flow so well with the rest of the combat. That said, enemies noticed when I was charging up for a posture attack. When I relied too much on them, I got into trouble because enemies took advantage of that opening. Enemies in the game were relentless, pulling off different moves one after another while fighting me. They didn't just wait around for their turn to attack. If I was focused on one enemy, another would try to catch me off guard. It made fighting groups genuinely challenging. Flurry attacks are a series of rapid strikes that I had to deflect or parry in quick succession. Pulling that off as Naoe or Yasuke was incredibly satisfying. Then there are the unstoppable attacks, the ones with the red glow. These hit hard. They actually disrupted me, and I could really feel the impact. Sometimes enemies hit me with these out of nowhere without much buildup, which kept the combat fast-paced. When I was doing stealth, I found myself going prone a lot. It just felt awesome. The prone movement animations were done really well. I even tried prone assassinations, and they were so much fun to pull off. I also experimented with dodging in different directions while prone. It felt super responsive, and the animations were really cool. Doing stealth during the day was definitely harder than at night. Some enemies were positioned in ways that made it much easier to take them out at night when I could hide in the dark. There was this one location where I was trying to clear enemies stealthily, and some of them couldn't be taken down with one-hit assassinations. Because of how the enemies were placed, and since not all of them were one-hit kills, I was forced to get creative. I ended up using a mix of Naoe's tools and stuff I found in the environment to take them down. The enemy detection range felt much bigger here. There were moments where I got spotted from really far away, way farther than I was expecting. Once, an enemy spotted me through an open window while I was outside, and another time when I was crawling under a house, they saw me through the gaps in the structure and even started throwing projectiles at me. Stuff like this made stealth tougher, but it also made clearing an area completely in stealth feel so satisfying. Assassinations as Naoe felt great. I saw a variety of animations. They were all quick, polished, and just badass. I also tried double assassinations, both from the ground and the air. The first time I got a chance to perform one, my eyes lit up. It was so cool to finally do a double assassination in an AC game again, after so many years. I did have one small gripe though. With the air double assassination, there's this camera cut that happens and it kinda takes you out of the moment. It's not a huge deal, but it's definitely noticeable. I used all of Naoe's tools during my playthrough, and I found them all useful in both combat and stealth, but they were a bit more useful in stealth overall. I was also really happy to see the quick throw feature making a return. I also performed Yasuke's version of an assassination, the brutal assassination. He uses his weapons to execute them, and each weapon type has its own unique animation. Oh, and brutal assassinations often result in decapitations. Speaking of which, decapitations in general were pretty rare. They only happened during brutal assassinations or finishers. That's a good thing, because it made them feel impactful and special instead of happening all the time. I really liked how the Observe and Eagle Vision mechanics work together. Observe lets us identify and tag enemies, but it doesn't reveal every single enemy in an area. That's where Eagle Vision comes in. We can use both at the same time to get a full picture of our surroundings. Sure, we can rely on just one, but if we do, we'll be missing out on valuable intel. It felt great to use them together, and I found myself relying on both a lot during my playthrough, before going in for a stealth approach. I also went to a sync point, and it didn't automatically show all the nearby points of interest. Instead, I had to press the observe button to reveal them. I really liked this change because it gave me a choice. Do I want to check out the points of interest, or just enjoy the view? I found myself spending more time after synchronizing, carefully deciding what to do next, instead of feeling overwhelmed by too many icons. Now, about the parkour. From what I played, it's not the best in the series, but it's definitely better than what we got in the recent AC RPGs. Honestly, I found myself having way more fun with parkour here. That said, while I enjoyed it, I wouldn't call it great, just good. And the main reason for that is the lack of parkour routes. The castle town I played in was okay for parkour. That said, I do appreciate that the developers still tried to make parkour enjoyable, given the setting and architectural limitations. At first, I struggled a bit with the timing for flips, but I got better later, and now I'm looking forward to perfecting them. Naoe's back ejects seem to cover more distance than any other assassins. I used one to cross a big gap between rooftops. It was really cool. I also tried using back ejects to scale walls, but that's not possible in this game. I tried pulling off side ejects a few times, but they didn't really work for me. Not sure if I was doing something wrong or if they're just not a thing. Sprint dodges though? Those felt good, responsive and smooth. There are also objects in the world specifically placed for using them, which was cool. Automated passovers on the other hand felt a bit rough, kinda janky at times. Also, since I didn't get to play in one of the game's big cities, I can't say for sure if there are longer, well-designed parkour routes in those areas. I really hope there are though. With all the new parkour moves and mechanics, not having proper cities built around parkour would feel like a big missed opportunity. Now, let's talk about the grappling hook, easily one of my favorite additions. The environment and architecture are designed in a way that makes its usage feel logical and right. For example, there were tall, unclimbable castle walls where I had to combine wall runs, back ejects, and the grappling hook to scale them. There were also pagodas, multi-story towers where sync points are at the top. Scaling them required the grappling hook since climbing them normally wasn't possible. Overall, the hook felt like it belonged in the game and was fun to use. As for Yasuke, well, his parkour is really slow. Walking on the road was faster than trying to parkour with him, but he can still do it. There's even a funny moment where if you walk on a rope as Yasuke, the rope breaks and he falls. The first time it happened, I was so confused that I tried it again just to see, and yeah, same thing. So if you're looking to do proper parkour in the game, Naoe is not just the better option, she's pretty much the only option. With Yasuke, it feels more like a struggle than actual parkour. That's all for now. I've got more to share about Shadows, so more videos are coming soon. If you like this, hit like and tell me your thoughts or questions in the comments. Thanks for being here. See you soon.